that works.
Hello. All righty.
All right, I think we're recording. Welcome.
Welcome. It's everyone is here.
Yeah, welcome to the Chizuk in Shidduchim, for Shidduchim, practical Chizuk for Shidduchim webinar, monthly webinar with dating coach Rachel Burnham and mom of dating people and like to help people who are dating, Chaya Parkoff. And we're happy to have you, those of you that are listening live, those of you that are watching or listening the recording. So it is March 27th today. All day. It's been March 27th and just a week after Purim, almost a week after Purim. We had a beautiful, joyful Purim and is getting excited about Pesach, which is wonderful. And just remember, it is a mitzvah to be happy at the Seder. So don't go beyond what we need to do and then be exhausted and cranky at the Seder. Do what we need to do, and then whatever else you want to do, as long as you can show up at the Seder b'simcha. Something I learned many years ago, and I asked my rabbi one year, I was so overwhelmed, 5 little kids. I said, what's the minimum I have to do for Pesach? He said to me, Chaya, there's no minimum. There's what you need to do, and then all the other meshugana stuff that people do. So just make sure you do what you need to do, which is very doable. And more importantly, do that and then show up happy. So we have some questions that have been sent to me over the month. And basically the format is, for those of you that have never seen our previous webinars, is I throw out some questions that have been given to me by people who are either in the dating world themselves or parents of people going through Shidduchim, and then I ask Rachel, and she gives her experience, her answer from her professional experience, personal experience. We kind of share back and forth, and if anyone is on live, you're welcome to ask a question. So, okay, this is a long question, but I'm going to just read it, and then you tell me what. How much, is this the one? Hang on one second. Okay. How much hishtadlus should a mother do? And some of this we've covered, and the person who sent this to me said, I know some of you have covered, but here's my question. How much hishtadlus should a mother do? What should her hishtadlus be? How much time during the day, the week, should she spend making phone calls versus davening? Furthermore, if this is her first child in Shidduchim, she probably still has some young ones at home. The youngest ones still need her attention. How does this interplay? Most moms today work out of the home as well. I found this all to be an overwhelming juggling act. It got really out of hand. I can laugh at it now. Baruch Hashem, this woman, her children are married, but she has such a caring for the whole world of Shidduchim, the whole parsha, that even though her children are married off, Baruch Hashem, she's very active in wanting to help others. She said, when two of my, it was just very out of hand, 2 of her kids made aliyah. I was on the, she goes, I was on the phone in the morning before going to work, talking to her contacts in Israel. When she got home from work, she was talking to her U.S. contacts. Like, it can be an overwhelming job for the mother. So what is our role in terms of hishtadlus, in terms of the effort that we put in?
Okay, so first of all, we can't do nothing, because that's obviously, a hishtadlus requires some effort. And making ourselves crazy to do everything, as you said, is very overwhelming, and it's not necessarily going to create different results. So it's really difficult for me to say for each person what that means. I would have to get to know each person who's asking that question and to figure out with them what that actually means. I would say that a healthy daily dose of davening is very useful. When your children are very young and just beginning Shidduch, and I think I've mentioned this before, I find it to be extremely beneficial to start off by letting close friends and family know that this child is dating. Mainly because a lot of really wonderful Shidduchim come from close friends and family who love you, who know you, who have your best interest, your child's best interest. Oh, she used to babysit for me. She used to hang out at my house for Shabbos. I know her. She's so delicious. Who do I know for her? Oh, what about, what's his name? He's a great guy. I think he's actually dating now too. You know, so start off, before you start calling every shadchan in town who doesn't know you or your child, start off by letting the people who know you well and who love you and care for you, let them know that you're starting the parsha, so to speak. That's very, very important. A daily dose of davening is also very important. Now, as options start to come in and ideas start to come through, so typically, not always, but usually typically it goes to the boy first, and the boy needs to check it out, and that is a mother's requirement. That's her job. That if she has a good relationship with her child, she should be doing that for him. Now, there are cases where parents don't see eye to eye with their kids in terms of what they're looking for. There are cases where parents don't know how to do this and they feel that they're not doing a good enough job. There are cases where I have a lot of people calling me, they don't have a mother who is either from or who knows how to do this or who's alive. So, you need to find someone who will be trying to do this for you. I do not recommend that at a young age that singles do this for themselves. It comes across as, it doesn't put them in the best light. Mm-hmm. And because they're doing this for themselves, they're very no gebedever. So either like a mother at best, a friend, a neighbor, a rebbitzin, but somebody who can work on your behalf in order to do this for you, that won't get emotional about the information that they're hearing because they're just too no gebedever in that specific matter. So like I said, as when kids are young, as it comes up, yes, you need to look into Shidduchim that come up as they come up. As kids get a little bit older, there might be a point at around 24, 25, 26, where, singles start to get a little bit more touchy about their parents being overly too involved. It's very natural. It's about them becoming more mature, more independent, and them kind of flexing their wings to want to be more of an adult. It's extremely normal. And I would just say, have a conversation with your child and say, what level of involvement would be comfortable for you? I know you don't want this whole job on your own because it's going to be a lot of work. And I know that you don't want me to do the entire thing. So would you like me to check into a guy and then, give you a call and say, this is what I found. You can tell me what you'd like to say. So you discuss with your child what that would be. And then as they get older, if they still are not married, I mean, they'll be married young, but if they aren't, then you might want to start to explore. You start to broaden your horizons as we get older. So then you might want to, meet other shadchanim that we don't know. Maybe go on websites that we never used before. Maybe go to a nice From Singles event that I might not have saw myself doing, 3 years ago. So you want to broaden your horizons if it doesn't happen when kids are younger. Obviously, when they're younger, it is easier. Easier and harder. Easier because they're young and dumb and they don't know what to expect, so they're very flexible and malleable, and it's easier for them to commit, much easier for them to commit. Harder because they're young and dumb and don't really know what they're doing or getting themselves into. They see a cute guy and they're like, oh, he's the one for me, and they don't really know what marriage is to know whether or not this is a good idea, and they need your guidance. More than your guidance, they actually need your role modeling as a healthy couple and a loving marriage within the home. That's what they need more than you telling them what to do, is you modeling what to do. But that's a whole other conversation. So everyone has to do their shtadlus that is best for them. For some people, there's certain shtadlus which is like really, really painful. So I can't stand calling all these Rosh Yeshivas. I can't stand calling all these big shadchanim. They never call me back. They hang up on me. So, don't start with the areas that are really difficult for you. Start with the ones that are easier and you feel more comfortable. But everyone has to choose something. Either, going on a website, calling a friend, calling a shop. You got to choose something. Printing up a resume is the first step. Your kid comes home from Israel. First thing to do, put together a proper resume with a professional picture. And this is my own personal opinion. We've had conversations about pictures. A professional picture that is clear, that is sharp, that is not like a half-baked selfie like some people send me, like, don't do that. It's not even a joke.
Why not?
Professional picture where your kid looks their best, does not have to be a full body shot. Shoulder and up is completely fine. That would be my first step. And like I said, we kind of broaden the horizons. If those things are not working, you'll start to kind of like branch out.
Great. That was wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, I was having a conversation with someone about this when this question came up, and we kind of came to the conclusion of, if it's, obviously there's going to be some discomfort. Like I hate having to call. Personally, it's like, I usually try to find someone who knows them and say, can you call this person? Networking is very, very good. But if it's bringing you tremendous agitation, and like, you do what you can do that takes you just a little bit outside your comfort zone, and then if it's making you nuts, you're not modeling, and maybe there's something you have to work on yourself, your own emun and bitachon, your own keeping calm. But I think there's also a point of like running yourself crazy again, and that's probably crossing the line.
So I just want to add two things. So you mentioned like running yourself crazy. So there is this perception for a lot of intelligent, capable, accomplished women who are running a home and involved in community and having kids and very successful across the board, that if I try hard enough at something, I will be able to accomplish it. So if I try hard enough at home, I will raise good kids. If I try hard enough in the kitchen, I will be a great cook. And if I try hard enough at my job, I will succeed and I will excel and I will make partner, whatever goals you have in mind. And so the same applies to Shidduchim, or so people think, that if I just try hard enough, it's just going to happen. And for some reason, I'm trying so hard and it's not happening. Maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe there's something wrong with my efforts. And Shidduchim is like on a totally different plane. You can try hard. You can be the best guy, the best girl, the best resume, the best family. It doesn't matter. Because if Hashem doesn't want it to happen, it's not going to happen. So I have a little saying that says, you might not like it, but Hashem always gets what he wants. He always gets what he wants. You have to deal with it. You just have to deal with it. No matter, it's not a reflection on you. Mm-hmm. It's just a reflection on the fact that it's not the right time, and you just have to hang in there. And frankly, I think it's a lot of midos work for a person to be able to realize that as capable and smart and wonderful as I think I am, this is not about me, and it's not going to be happening until Hashem decides that this is a good idea. So I just have to hang tight, work on my emunah, and realize I'm not in charge, and Hashem's going to get what he wants in the end. So I think that that's one very, very important thing to, just keep in mind. There's a perception that this process is supposed to be like comfortable and easy, and like getting married is so exciting, and therefore the path leading up to there must be exciting too. I really think it's important to reframe the goal here. Mm-hmm. The goal is not let's torture mothers. The goal is not let's torture shadchanim. The goal is not let's torture singles. The goal is to get married, okay? Along the way, there will be roadblocks sometimes. I hope that they're minimal, but there will be roadblocks sometimes. There will be things that are challenging. There will be people or shadchanim or, singles that are difficult to deal with across the board. But we have to not focus on that, because here's the thing. If you're looking for a nice, relaxing experience, you're probably better off with a pina colada on the beach. Do you know what I'm saying? Like people tell me, like, I went on a date and it wasn't fun. Well, if you want fun, you should probably go bowling with your friends. Right. That's, if you're looking for fun. If you're looking for a husband, it's going to be a different experience. Mm-hmm. So, we have to keep our eye on the goal. The goal is to get married. The process can be frustrating. Right. Like I say, this is pretty straightforward, but somehow when I say it, people are like, oh, really? Every single person that your child goes out with or that you look into, you're most probably going to say no to. You know why? Because we only marry one person. And therefore, by definition, we will be saying no to everybody else. Now, that doesn't sound very glamorous. But the point is that we have to sift through all these guys and girls and resumes and dates in order to find that one person. And if that one person comes to you first, why, you've won the lottery. But that doesn't happen for most people. So keeping that in perspective, that keep the eye on the goal. Don't keep your eye on the process. Yes, the process is frustrating. Yes, I wish it would happen faster for everybody. Yes, it's true. It could be annoying shadchanim and singles and mothers and people that we call for references not being straight and how to ask this question and that question. It's all very frustrating. I agree. But I think we can lower the frustration level if we realize that we're not going through this process as a means to the end. We're looking at this process as a means to a goal of marriage. When they get there, this whole process will be over for that child at least. So keep our eye focused on the goal, which is marriage. Don't get stuck in the process, which is the dating system, which is frankly frustrating until you actually get married. It's frustrating for everybody. Right. It's frustrating for non-Jews, Jews, not from. It's frustrating for everybody. Trust me, I speak to all of them. It's frustrating for everybody. Till you find that one person, it's a challenge. So let's focus on, keep our eye on the goal, eye on the prize, look forward, chin up, and just keep moving forward. Just keep moving forward until that happens. I think that will probably be the best way to help us stay positive in a forward movement where we're not getting bogged down by he said and she said and they said. Just move on.
So there are two things I want to say to that. Beautiful. I'm so glad you added that in. The first thing is, I love it. Keep your eye on the goal. And the goal is to get married to the person who you choose to be. I know you know this. I'm just reiterating it for everyone to remind ourselves that the goal is not to just get married. A lot of people do that. Just was having a conversation with a girl who got divorced, is getting divorced now after a few months of marriage because, it's to marry the person that you are meant to spend the rest of your life with, please God, not just to get married. So that we just want to say just to
and if that tends to take a little bit more time, which I wish upon everyone it shouldn't, but if it happens to take a bit more time to find that right person, you will be very, very blessed to have a few years of pain and find the right person for the rest of your life than to marry a few years early and have a lifetime of pain. Trust me.
There you go.
Therapist right here. She'll tell you all about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Which brings me to my second point, which is
your camera is really freezing up. I don't know. I it's very frozen and
I know yours did a couple of times. Is it still freezing? Because I have a very strong internet connection. It's still frozen?
Now it's moving. Okay.
Okay. Which this is very important, and I just want to tell everyone listening how vital it is to have for the dating process, how helpful it is to have a dating coach. Whether you are the single who's looking to get married, having a dating coach that can help you walk through this, what could be lots of roadblocks and issues and things like that. And I just want to put a plug in for you, Rachel, because Rachel is a dating coach. She speaks to people, like she said, from all walks of the Jewish life, and really, really, really helps people so that they have clarity and can help move through the process and not say no to the person they should say yes to, and not say yes to the person they should say no to. So you can check her out at www.dategreat.com, and the 8 is the number 8. So www.dategreat.com. It's really helpful. And then when there are like some emotional issues that need to be dealt with, sometimes they can be dealt with through the dating coaching, and sometimes they, going to a professional to get some help so that you can become the best you could be. When you said on the very first time we spoke about that, and I think the first webinar about, and I think it's worth repeating that, some people have to get married young. They find each other right away because they're going to grow together to become the people they're meant to become, to reach their potential. Some people have to grow first in order to then become a couple so they can reach their potential. Only Hashem.
Well, in order to grow to who they need to become in order to meet that person.
Right. So you have to grow to become the person so that you can meet the person, and then you can reach your potential as a couple. And so only Hashem knows, who those people are. And so the point is to just keep growing in the process, and certainly the process will help you grow. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Let's see what do we got next.
Let me see. I can't remember if we if we talked about this. I usually yellow them out, but for some reason, I don't have this yellowed out. Okay. When do you disclose more personal information once you're dating? How much do you say when? When is it appropriate to disclose?
So I never give a number of a date because every couple has their own dynamic and has their own trajectory, and sometimes certain couples take longer to open up, and it has to feel natural. What I will say is that there has to be an established comfort between the two people. There also needs to be a feeling of safety. I tell you something, I don't feel that you're going to either make fun of me or hurt me or tell my personal secret elsewhere. This, the date might choose to say no if it's something serious that they're not comfortable with, but they won't ridicule them or make them feel belittled because of that, whatever situation they're going through. So that's really, really important, because without safety, you cannot build a healthy relationship. Without safety and trust, you cannot build a healthy relationship. So obviously, if it's something serious, you're not going to be waiting until the 10th, 15th date to say that. But there should be a basic level of trust and respect and safety before you start to open up about that. And what I would do is I wouldn't kind of like blurt it all out all at once. I would kind of test the waters and share like, yeah, a couple of years ago, I had a broken engagement, which probably he's heard about. Just asking around, he's probably heard about. You just kind of drop that one date. And then, if you feel that he took that all right, then the next date you kind of, describe a little bit more about what happened. Now, you don't have to describe everything, and nobody should feel pressured to share what they're not comfortable with. But slowly, as you kind of test the waters and the safety feels comfortable and the trust starts to grow, I think that is the most, calm way to introduce a topic. When you dump a huge topic on somebody, it's very, very challenging. If somebody's sharing issues with mental illness or certain disabilities that might not be able to be seen externally, those sorts of things, usually when research happens, people usually find a lot of that out beforehand. But if they don't, typically people share this, fourth, fifth, sixth date. But then again, I don't like to give official numbers really, because it's really a case-by-case situation.
Have you coached people on, let's say, there's a lot of people, let's say, who have managed anxiety, managed bouts of depression at times, where they're managing their seat. They have a psychologist, maybe they're on a little bit of medication that helps them to, what I call, do backflips in the deep end rather than, what is it? Doing the doggy paddle in the shallow end. So do you coach people on how to say that? Because I'm sure there are listeners here who have children who, or you are.
100%. 100%. I definitely.
You're on a date, you feel comfortable, you feel safe, you feel like this is going somewhere. You want them to know, I've struggled with anxiety at times in my life. I take whatever. And a lot of
people struggle with anxiety and depression. It's so common today that it's like, Ritalin, Prozac. These are things that a lot of people are taking. But it does have to be disclosed, and it has to be disclosed in the right kind of way. And there's a very big difference between managed and unmanaged. Very, very big difference.
That's why I said managed. Unmanaged, you should be, exactly. I don't know what your feeling is, but if it's unmanaged, that probably needs to happen, get managed.
Oh yeah.
Dating.
Oh yeah, if it's unmanaged. The problem is that sometimes when it's unmanaged, a lot of people are in denial. And so they don't see it themselves. Often they get married, and a spouse who is that close to them realizes that there's something going on here. And that's when, it kind of hits the fan. And hopefully with a supportive spouse, they can help you get the help that the spouse needs.
Oh, and by the way, getting married does not make your anxiety or depression go away, right?
Oh, no. So it'll probably make it worse.
Right, because it's like pouring Miracle Grow, on your stuff. So don't think, if I get married.
Marriage is not a hospital. Take care of your stuff today.
Take care of yourself today, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So how would you go about disclosing it? Like, could you give an example, like even a role play type thing?
So first of all, like I said, it would have to be like there's a feeling of trust and safety. Typically, one person opens up about something and the other side feels that they also want to share something. So you could say, I've definitely had times in my life where I've kind of had my ups and downs. Oh, really? What do you mean by that? Well, sometimes you kind of feel like the weight of the world on you. And for a while I struggled with that. But like Baruch Hashem, I've really gotten a lot of guidance and support in those areas. And I'm really on top of it. And it's very well managed. And, you're welcome to speak to my doctor if you want to. I have nothing to hide. But I'm super functional. I've got a great job, lots of friends, life is good, so you can disclose it how you like. And also you can disclose as much as you like. Now, here's 2 points to really keep in mind. Just like, and this is something that people really have a hard time integrating, just like there are guys who are not going to go for your particular look. They're not going to go for your particular family. They're not going to go for your particular personality. There are going to be guys who are not going to go for your particular package. And so if your package has an anxiety or depression or parents who are divorced, or you live, I don't know, too far away that's not close enough to their family, there are going to be guys who are going to say no for that. Don't take it too personally. Don't get upset. Don't get distraught. The right person will want your package. The right person will think you are beautiful. The right person will want the family that you come from and will love your personality. Don't feel bad. Getting married, you do not have to please. This is not a people pleasing. This is not a people pleasing way of having to appease to everybody. So what you do need to do is find that one person. And once you find that one person, you're done. You're completely done. So I really think it's important that people focus on the fact that I'm not going to be popular to everybody, and I'm not going to be everybody's favorite. And that's okay. I need to find that one person. And maybe that one person has something that I might not be completely open to or in the beginning used to. And it's very normal. I've dealt with a lot of couples where like the therapists are just talking to each other to discuss whether or not their particular whatever their struggles are manageable, and how managed they are, and how compatible they would be in order to help this couple become the best that they can be together. I've had a lot of that. So I really think that it's very doable. It's just you have to keep your eye on the idea that just like not everyone's going to love my package, not everyone's going to take my stuff. Right. And it's Hashem's way of telling you that this person is not for you, or this person is for you. Right. So I had broken engagements that a lot of guys turned me down. Guess what? My husband didn't seem to care. You know what I mean? So right. It's really, all that matters is that one. And it's really, if you can look at people saying no as Hashem's way from pushing you away from the people that are not right for you and pushing you towards the direction of where you need to go, you will be a much happier person.
It reminds me, many, many years ago, I heard Rabbi Aryeh Pimensky. Have you ever heard him do his thing on marriage and couples? And he talks about the differences between men and women. And he says, he says that men love ego strokes. They love to have their ego strokes. He goes, let me explain to you what an ego stroke is. He goes, you line up every man in the entire world, say every Jewish guy in the entire world, like the entire world. And you walk up and down the line, marry, not marry, everybody. And you're the only woman left on earth. And you walk up and down the aisle and up and down the line, and you look at everybody and you walk up to your husband and you say, I pick you. I do that when we go to a big simcha and there's like tons and tons and tons of people. I always whisper in my husband's ear, I still pick you. Right? All these people, I still pick you. That's what you want. You want
exactly
20 years from now, after you're married and have children and you've gone through ups and downs, you want to be able to go, I pick you, which is why this process is not about just getting married. It's about picking, finding the right person in the right time, and you don't want to pick the wrong person. You don't want to pick trust me, you don't want to pick the wrong person. I'm on this side of the couch, when people are I
have a lot of girls who call me, and as we're talking, I don't have to say it. They realize that this is not the right person for them. And they'll say, but I just want to get married. Right. I just want to get married. And here's the thing. Getting married will solve one thing. You won't be single. You will be married. But that's not the only thing that it will solve. It will create a lot of other problems. But you definitely don't want to get married just for the sake of getting married just because you don't want to be single. You want to get married to the right person for the right reasons. So yes, 100%, 100%.
Great. Anybody who's listening have a question?
I would actually like to
Yes.
chime in something that comes up a lot that I wanted to, throw in. So I find that I want to talk about boys for a minute. Okay. So we know how it works, for the women, it's like a desert. And for the men, they're like lost in a forest. Right. So we know this. And of course we'd love to change it. It is what it is. We're probably not going to change it anytime soon. They're both very challenging for different reasons, very different reasons. But one thing that I want to really speak to mothers out there for, mothers of sons. Your child does not need to know every single person who wants to go out with them. It's not good for them. The son does not need to know how sought after he is.
Wow.
How much money people might be throwing at him. How many girls think he's the greatest catch in town.
Do that?
Now listen, this happens all the time. Why? Because, you want to talk about the statistics, there are less, good guys and girls or whatever it is. Hashem doesn't work with numbers and statistics.
Exactly.
So I don't really fully pay attention to all those numbers and statistics, but I do think that if you want to preserve your child for the health of his own marriage, you will be doing him a service as you do not allow him to know every single name that comes up, every single comment that is made, every single picture that comes in. You do the sifting first. You narrow it down. You sort out what you think is best for him. And then bring him 2 options, 3 options, and discuss it with him. Don't bring him 25. That is, you're torturing him. And if you don't do this and you decide to keep it all out there, let me tell you what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to get married to what he thought was the greatest pick in town. And one day he's going to have a disagreement or a fight because, nobody's perfect and we all disagree.
Right.
In his head, what he's going to think is, what do I need this for? I'm so sought after. Every girl wanted me. Every girl was dying for me. What do I need this for? Have to work things out with this girl? I just dump her and go get another girl. There's so many girls who wanted me. No. This is your wife and you stay in this marriage and you work it out unless there's something really, really, really over the top, going on. So I think that it is overall better for a boy's midos. This is not normally a girl's struggle, but for a boy, this is something that has been coming up a lot with boys and with mothers of boys that I work with. What do you mean? My son and I, we have a very open relationship. I respect that. But for the health of your child's eyes and for the health of his future marriage and for his own ego and his own ego and his own anivos, do yourself a favor and don't let him know everything. It's frankly not good. It's not good for him. It's not good for his marriage. It's not good for his dates. It's just not good for a lot of things. Anyway, that's going to be that's just a personal thing that I wanted to put in that I've seen come up.
That's
a lot.
So important. And I'm so glad you brought it up. And I think it's spot on.
Can I bring up one more topic?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I know that we've been doing a lot of Q&As from questions that have been coming up. And I value that and they're very important. And I want to kind of start shifting this to the next level.
Great.
Because a lot of the things that we've discussed some of them are basic. Some of them are things that come up for a lot of people. I want to kind of start moving things in a direction of the harder questions, the tougher topics that are coming up that are really, really challenging. My son has gone out with so many girls. No one seems to be good enough. Maybe he has a commitment issue. These are bigger things. How do I know if it's a commitment issue? How do I know if he has a problem? How do I know it's just not the right girl? These are bigger questions to deal with. And so I want to just bring up a topic that comes up a lot. And, I might want to, for the next time, kind of bring up my own topics because I kind of see a lot of things that are going on. And I think it would be helpful to get an insight into some of the things that are going on with clients and bring up some themes.
That is so great because we've been giving you the questions that are coming from the sea out there.
Right.
And now we're ready to move to what's going on in your office when kids
exactly.
coming.
Exactly. And I'm going to give you tips on what all of you as a mother could do to help your kids in this department.
Wonderful.
So something that comes up a lot, and it kind of ties it a little bit into, what we were just talking about, is expectations. Okay. So I have a lot of girls who say, oh my gosh, I have the most amazing father, and I want someone just like him. My mother's such a tzaddikus. She's so kind. She's so smart. And she works. And she runs the house. And she is always put together. And she does chesed. And I want someone just like her. I get this very often. So on one hand, it's very healthy that these kids love their parents,
Right.
and want to be, have a spouse just like them. That is a beautiful thing. But I have a term for this. It's called the perfect mommy daddy syndrome. Okay. And I suffered from it. Let me tell you, I definitely suffered from it. And the problem with this is that as parents, it is our responsibility to explain and to teach our children that when I married mommy or I married daddy, they were not this person, because they were wonderful in many ways, but they flexed and developed the muscles and middos of who they are through having a family, through marriage, through getting involved in community, through the struggles of dating and child rearing and age and wisdom. This is how they became who they are. And so we have to help them focus on looking for the core traits and personality traits and the middos traits that are going to be very important and inherent in their growth and development as a person and as a couple, but also ground them with reality in terms of what to actually expect. So for a girl, okay, for a girl to expect that your husband is going to be learning Yom V'Layla and supporting the family, to exactly the financial expectations that you had, and being the best father out there and always spending tons of quality time with you, right? So you might be looking for a few husbands, right? And so we kind of need to like help people bring those expectations down. Now, sometimes we have the opposite problem where a lot of our singles don't have the best role models, and so their expectations are quite low, too low.
Right.
And therefore we need to help raise the bar and say, no, you should, there's nothing wrong with expecting your husband to go to Minyan every day. Nothing wrong with expecting him to make some time to learn. And the way he should treat you should be appropriate and positive and respectful, right? So for those kinds of kids, we need to be able to, or if not a parent, someone needs to guide them as to what is the proper way in terms of being treated. And so I see this a lot. I see like the extremes on both sides. Either the expectations are very high and definitely unattainable because they're comparing it to parents that are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, or the expectations are very low and you're worried that they're going to fall for somebody that will not be good to them, kind to them, or suitable on many other levels. So as a parent, it really is your responsibility. Or if a parent is unable to do that, find a mentor or coach or a rebbitzin or somebody for them to help give them a dose of what is a healthy, normal relationship look like. It's also important for a parent to show, this would be best modeled, to show children that when parents disagree, because they do disagree, what is the most respectful and healthy way to resolve those conflicts? How do we communicate in the most effective, healthy, respectful way? These are the tools that your children are taking into marriage. If you want to know what you can do to help your children work on your marriage, that is the best thing that you can do, because they will look for a marriage that is similar to yours, mainly because it's familiar. And I have yet to meet a single that when talking about their dating life does not in some way, shape, or form try to resemble what they saw at home. It just typically...
It's basic psychology.
Basic psychology. I am not telling you any big Shidduch here. This is basic psychology.
No, it's such an important point that you're raising.
We all tend to marry somebody that is most similar to our mother or our father, for better or worse, hopefully for better, okay? So having someone to guide them in that direction is super important, and giving them a reality check as a parent saying, Daddy's wonderful, but he was not like this when I married him. When I married him, he was a young bacher, he was sitting in yeshiva, and he had a little side job working in the dry cleaner's place. You know what I'm saying? That's who he was. Right. And then over the years, he went to school, and then he started to give shiurim, and then he got this big job, and now he's involved in the community. This took years of development, and the love and encouragement and devotion of a wife, right? And same goes vice versa for a woman. So, you know, this comes up a lot, and I really want to just reiterate that, because I think that it's not something that really we talk about as much as we should, and it's up to the parent to discuss these things, because it's not being discussed. I know, because the kids are like, but look at my mother, but look at my father. So what I usually do is I ask a single to close their eyes and describe to me like the perfect guy or girl. Like, if someone could just come to your door, you know, the perfect match, what would they look like? So I said, I want you to have an actual person in mind. Like, they could be married, I don't care. You're not marrying them, but I just have someone in mind. Don't give me any names, just have someone in mind. And inevitably, obviously, they always pick someone who's married. Right. Why? Because that person has been married, has done the work that goes into building a life and building a home and being flexible and kind of shrinking yourself to a healthy degree to accommodate for another person. And anyone who's married knows what I'm talking about. But singles don't know what we're talking about. Learning to share, you know, learning that it's not always going to be my way, and learning to realize that all of a sudden we are now a we. We are not an I. We are a we. So if you go on my blog, which I want to encourage people to go on my blog and sign up for my newsletter. If you go to dategreat.com, you can sign up for my free newsletter, which sends out dating tips and articles every 2 weeks for free. And one article that I would really recommend is, you know, the journey from I to we. And there's another follow-up article of the journey from I to we is going from singleness, kind of blossoming into being a couple, or thinking about the idea of mentally flexing ourselves from being I to going to we. The other one is going from we to I, breakups and divorce and all that, and all the feelings that go into that and how to handle those emotions. So I would encourage people to go to the blog, read the articles, and sign up for the newsletter, because it's free. And you can forward them to friends and family that you think might appreciate these articles. Anyway, so, you know, that's one thing that comes up a lot that I really wanted to just kind of throw out there. I hope that's
really, really great. I think also sometimes, I don't know if you find this a lot, but sometimes people look for people who are not like their parents, right? They're not, let's say they didn't grow up in a home where they feel like, oh, I want someone totally different. And it's funny, my husband actually he wasn't like, I don't want anyone like his parents are amazing. I have amazing in-laws and he loves them. And he wasn't specifically looking, I don't want to marry someone like my mother. But what intrigued him about me was just how different I was than anyone that he had ever, you know, any women he knew. And guess what? We're very, very, very different. Now, what we do know, it's so obvious, anybody who knows us will, like, it's just so obvious that we, you know, they say, you know, you're one soul and then you come down and you're split. And I think Lord Platnick always says, you know, it's not like you're split neatly down the middle, you know, you're split like jagged, like a, you know, and so anyone that knows us knows, my friend Sherry is on this right now. She knows we are like so fit together. We're like so different, so opposite, you know? And so that was, you know, so sometimes you have to realize that they're not going to be like, even if the ingredients are there, they're just not necessarily going to be just like them, because you're going to get what's meant for you to complete your soul. I mean, this is a conversation I had recently. I was talking to someone about, like, when, you know, chas v'shalom, people are marrying, sometimes people are, you know, there's, especially if someone's not well engaged in their Yiddishkeit, you know, like, why should I marry someone who's Jewish? Like, when I'm not finding anyone, I might as well just marry someone who's not Jewish. And why it's so important. And it's like, you were one Jewish neshama. And now you're split. You're one neshama that is split. And so looking for someone that's not Jewish you're not going to be finding you're definitely not finding your neshama, the other half of your neshama. But in the realm of, please God, everyone marrying Jewish, you're looking for the other half of your soul. That's what you're looking for. And that's going to complete you. And sometimes that's going to be very similar to you because the mix is even. And sometimes it's going to be very different from you. And unless you...
So I like to say it's going to be similar and different. So for instance...
Yeah, that's true.
What I hope to achieve when I see a healthy couple is, you know, like a Venn diagram. like the two circles kind of overlapping. So you have things that are very different about you, and he has things very different about him that kind of complement each other. But then in the center, you really share a lot of commonality, goals, values, laugh about the same things, and really appreciate the similarities that you share, but there have to be differences that balance each other. Now, here's a difference that people don't usually like to acknowledge. So let's say I like to talk a lot, let's say. And sometimes my biggest struggle, let's say, could be Shmiras HaLashon, right? And let's say that's a struggle for me. So we might marry somebody who's really, really careful about Shmiras HaLashon. And it could be annoying because every time I start talking, he cuts me off. And he says, oh, I don't think we should talk about that. I think, and it could be like, wait, this is bothersome. I don't like that. But really, it's good for me. So it's a balance, because even though it can be difficult and challenging, we know that this is what's really good for me. So that's also what I think it's important that people look out for, the balances that are hard, but also good. You know, I'm neat, he's messy. It's not comfortable that he's messy, but the fact that I have to become a more flexible person and accommodate another person and realize that it's not just my home and I have to, you know, bend to another person is good for me, right? So these are things that are important to just realize that just because you're different, it's okay. When couples are dating, they tend to think that they're exactly the same. That's because they're not married and they haven't actually lived life to realize that, like, you're not exactly the same. Just because you both love listening to Pesach Kron, you're not exactly the same.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so, you know, so.
I like that too. I like that too.
Exactly. So they will learn. They will learn, and it's part of the growth process. And as a parent, when your child gets married, we can even do a session on marriage, because I do a lot of coaching for like Shona Rishona. But when your kids get married, you know, it's okay. They need to go through the process of growth when they get married, learning, you know, which one likes the toilet paper, which direction, and the toothpaste which way, and that's called being flexible and acknowledging there's another person here. So those are all very, very good things. I'm glad to bring up another topic, unless you have another question there.
I have one that's more on the preliminary, but it's something that I do want to know. And then I want to definitely ask a deeper question. This is a more fundamental one, which is on resumes. Mm-hmm. What do you think about listing your single friends as references?
So that is, okay. So I would honestly limit it to one. Because let me tell you what it's going to sound like. She's amazing. She's so special. She's like so great. Like so amazing and so great. It very often doesn't really yield actual information. So, you know, one friend is fine.
Even valuable? Is it even valuable to put someone? Is it better to put, let's say, your married friend as a friend reference?
You can. Just try to limit it to someone who you think knows how to give quality information, or has a little bit of a broader verbal, you know, capacity to give information. As opposed to great, wonderful, and amazing. And I think that if someone's asking research, if they ask very specific questions, single friends, that would probably be useful.
Okay. Now for something deeper.
Okay, so something else that I'm going to talk about, you know, not necessarily today, but like moving forward, some trends and things that I see coming up a lot. So we live in a society where in our Shidduch world, we have a very, very short window of opportunity to make a good impression. Okay. So we see a resume. She's pretty. She's not. I like what I see on the paper. I don't like what I see. I think the personality matches. I don't think it matches. In that split second, you realize you could be tossing away your spouse. And people do this like all the time.
Which you can, by the way. You can toss away your spouse.
You can. Oh, you can. Sure.
Don't think Hashem has a plan. Yeah, but you can.
That's right. You know, I tend to be of the school of thought, which is not popular to everybody. Better to err on the side of caution, even if it costs you going out one or two more dates than you actually wanted. Better to err on the side of caution. If you're like on the fence and not sure about a specific thing, that's why we date. We go out to see. I didn't say marry them. I didn't say, you know, commit to 10 dates. Go on one date or do further research to ask the questions that you have, as opposed to just saying no, right? So we live in a society where the decisions are very split second. Then we get to a first date. If you get to a first date, that first date, if you are not making a good impression, you're not getting a second date. Okay. Now let me tell you what happened when I used to work on campus with my husband. We used to be Rabbi and Rabbi at University of Maryland. you'd have these couples come, you'd have these singles come in, not from, and they'd meet, you know, freshman year, and, you know, obviously they're all talking about the opposite gender they're not from. I mean, this is very common. In that culture, if you don't have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or at least trying to meet somebody, like, there's something a little bit off about you. So, you know, she's cute, she's not, I like him, I don't like him. Like, you hear this all the time, right? And so you hear people say, like, oh, her, no, totally not my this, my that, my personality, whatever it is. Now, I'm not recommending in any way, shape, or form that we adopt this method, but I just want to point something out. Freshman year, you know, sophomore year, junior year, by the end of junior year, senior year, a lot of these guys and girls that in freshman year were saying, not my speed, not my type, I don't go for her look, his look, he's not my personality, like, he makes me nuts, he annoys me. A lot of these people are dating, okay? Now, what happened? Like, what changed? I'll tell you what changed. We had a class together, we came to the Maimonides program, we went to Israel together, we had a lot in common, we had these deep conversations, we developed a friendship, we learned that we have a lot of things in common, we have a lot of things that we enjoy, you know, doing together, that we have fun with it. So all of a sudden, because of that friendship and because things developed over time, they decided to date. And some of those couples got married, okay? This is something that will never happen in our society, and it's a problem. It's a really big problem, because I have a variety of clients who, in high school, in elementary school, they were very slow to warm up and they were slow to make friends. But once they made that friend, it was like friends for life, okay? And their struggle in dating is that before they can actually kind of like warm up and get to open up and get to the level where they can build something with this person, the person made a decision and they're out the door. So it's really, really difficult. And I think that in general, you have to try to give people a little bit more time to open up, to be themselves. And then we're not even adding the variable of if you've been burnt and hurt many, many times, and you've maybe had a broken engagement, or maybe you've been dating for years and it's just super frustrating and you're burnt out. You don't want to open up to everyone that you meet. It's painful. It's uncomfortable. It feels very, very uncomfortable to make yourself so open and so vulnerable so often. So I want to encourage people to think twice before they say no to a resume. And think twice before you say no to a guy. Again, I didn't say marry him. I didn't say date him many, many times. But if you're not sure, it's my personal school of thought, and people can definitely disagree with me, to give it an extra date or two. It will not kill you. If you end up marrying this person, it will be the best date or two extra that you did, okay? If you don't marry this person, then you went on 1 or 2 dates. It promised you no one ever died from a date. So I really think that it's important, because some people are slow to warm up, and some people really think that they've got this person figured out after 1 date, and they're wrong. They're just wrong.
You know, this is so important, Rachel. I'm so glad you brought this up. And I think that, you know, you have to assume that on a first date, people are nervous.
For sure.
They have a lot of thinking going on in their own mind about all the stuff that, even though, you know, I'm not deciding on marriage tonight, it's still, I personally would say, unless you're repulsed, like you just know there's no physical chemistry, like you just don't have any physical at all. I'm not, because that grows too. You know what I mean? You don't have to think the guy you went out with is the hottest guy ever, like, or the hottest girl ever. Like, there has to be some chemistry there. But I don't, you know, I think that
I always say give it a second. Give it a second date.
Give it a second date. And you know what's the worst that'll happen? The worst that'll happen is, okay, he's not for you. The best that'll happen is it's your husband. In between, you'll get to know them enough where you know of someone for them.
Exactly.
My daughter did that.
I'm going to tell you, I have singles tell me all the time, I don't see it, not for me. I totally can't marry a guy like that. Not for me. I don't see it. And what I say to them is, I didn't ask you if you saw it. I asked you, what was the date? I don't care if you want to marry him. I don't care to hear about it. If you see it or you don't see it, you feel it, you don't feel it. I don't care about that. Could you see yourself going out with this person one more time? I just want to know about one more time.
Right.
Because right now we're on date 2, and I want to know if you would go to date 3. That's it. Marriage, first of all, nobody wants to marry a stranger. Okay? Would you want to marry a stranger? I wouldn't want to marry a stranger. When you meet someone at the door and you're asking somebody, do you see it? Would you want to marry this guy? You're asking someone, would you want to marry a stranger? Who wants to marry a stranger? Of course the answer is always going to be no.
Right.
All right? And by the way, when girls or guys come to me and they're like flying like a kite after a first date, I'm always like, this is bad.
Exactly. It's the same. It's the opposite. It's
exactly. The only way to go from here is down. So what we're looking for is like a steady incline. That's what we're looking for, a steady up and down going on the upward track. So if someone says, I had a pleasant time, I mean, it was like, okay, it wasn't wow, it wasn't terrible. Yeah, I'm going again. That's perfect. That is the best response. Okay. So that's what I'm looking for. And I'm going to just give you an example from myself. I'm the best example here. I did not want to go out with my husband, and I didn't want to go out with him on a second date. Okay. And here we are. So what happened? What changed? I did not want to go out with him for a variety of reasons that are unimportant. And I was pushed into it. My shadchan gave a yes for me without my permission. Horrible. Could you imagine? Exactly. Now, luckily, I respected him very much. And even though I was furious, I went out of respect for him. And mind you ever notice that we tend to attach the way we think about the shadchan to the boy? So for instance, like if this really amazing, wonderful person that we like set us up with this guy, then the guy must be amazing. And then we really want to go out with this guy because the neighbor who we love set us up. But if we get a phone call from some little lady down the block who doesn't really know us, and she's very annoying and she doesn't stop talking, or she might not be hashkafically where we see ourselves, we don't want to go out with this guy because we all of a sudden think the guy is like her. Right. This is very dangerous. This is very dangerous, ladies, because again, that little lady might actually know your husband. Do yourself a favor, do your research, just look into it, okay? So in my mind, because I was so upset at this shadchan, I was by default very upset at meeting my husband. Okay, what is your name? Oh, so annoying. Now, that's a bit extreme. I didn't actually act like that. I think I faked it a bit better, but I was just like annoyed. When is this over? How dare somebody say yes for me without my permission? I was really upset. So after the first date, I wanted to say no because fine, I did it, I'm done. And then I realized, wait a minute, I didn't even give this guy a chance. I don't even know who this guy is. Because I was just waiting for the date to be over because I was so upset that this person gave a yes without my permission and how rude that was. And I'm not even going to defend that he even did that. Although luckily I got married, so I forgave him. Right. But anyway.
He knew about it. He had siyata d'shmaya somehow, yeah.
So the point is that I gave him a second because I felt bad for a variety of reasons. I was like, okay, you know, poor guy. It was his first date in many years. I'm his second marriage. So it was hard for him. So I was like, all right, I'll cut him some slack. And you know what? On the second date, things really took off. So what would have happened if I said no before I went out, or if I said no after that first date that I really didn't want to go on?
You would have said no to the guy that you should have said yes to.
It would have been the tragedy of my life.
Right. That you wouldn't have
been the tragedy of my life. And I just want people to know, specifically mothers who I'm speaking to here, that when you're flipping through these resumes as if you think this is just like the encyclopedia of Shidduchim, and you're flipping through them as so cavalier that are like, not my look, not my look, not my family, you are very possibly passing by your daughter-in-law or son-in-law. Very possibly. Be very careful at how quickly you give that no. It's dangerous.
Critical.
And that child, that single, is relying on you to help them make that decision. Now, I'm not advocating for you to push your child one way or another, but I am encouraging you to put the information on the table for them and to sit down and discuss with them what makes the most sense for who they are and what they're looking for and what they need versus what they want. What makes the most sense to start with? Should we start with him or her? Where should we start? That's your job as a mother. Is it hard? It's very hard. It's very hard. And Akash Baruch Hu should give everybody siyata d'shmaya to be able to guide our children in the right direction. It's very, very hard. But that is where you're going to come in, because a single is going to very often in the younger ages look to their parents for guidance. So if you're going to be the parent to be like, no, where are they from? Borough Park, forget about it. You know, if you're going to be that parent to do that, well, you might as well, you might have just say goodbye to your child. And then I got these phone calls, my kid never gets a date and my daughter's 25 and she's single. So here's the thing. I tell mothers, I tell singles all the time, you could be as picky as you want. You could be as choosy as you want. You can ask for the sun, the moon, the stars. It's really fine with me. I don't mind. But if your child has been decreasing the amount of dates that they've been suggested, or your child doesn't have dates at all, you might want to think about why that is. Right. Either it is because you're being recommended options that you're turning down, or people don't want to deal with you because they just know you're going to say no. So you know what? They're going to move on to the person that says yes. Now, I personally had a lot of dates when I was single. Why? I said yes. I said yes a lot. Did I marry all those people? No, I didn't. Right. But I gave them a try. And Shidduchim knew that if I call Rachel, she's going to probably do a little research, and more often than not, she's going to say yes. And for a Shidduchim, it was more encouraging for them to call me than to call the girl that they know is probably going to give a no. I know that sounds bad, but it did definitely help me because it gave me dates. Now, I didn't know where my husband was going to come from, but it gave me dates, and how else are we supposed to get married if we don't date?
There you go. I mean, people want, I think, being optimistic and being open, and you know that's and you dated a long time. You know,
a long time.
And I think this is so important.
Yeah, my friends would want to know, why do you always have dates and I don't have dates? And I said, because I say yes and you say no.
Right.
I mean, I had single friends calling me probably, 10 to 15 years after I dated a guy. And they would say, do you ever hear of so-and-so? And I said, yeah. They said, how do you know? I said, oh, I dated him 10, 15 years. You went out with him? Yes. But his this and his family and his background. Yeah, I went out with him. 10, 15 years later, they're considering going out with him. Why now? They should have tried to give that a chance then. Now, listen, everything happens for a reason, but we do have the ability to make decisions. And I'm just encouraging mothers to not be so cavalier when they're passing over resumes and saying no so quickly. Be smart about it. Do your research. I'm not saying you shouldn't say no. I'm not saying your child should go out with every single guy, that's red. I'm not saying that. Be smart. Look into it. And if you're going to give a no, make sure it's for real, concrete reasons that make sense. That's all.
I think we're going to wrap up now, but okay. I want to say two things. I want to put two plugs in. I want to put a plug in for a shir by Esther Wien. You can find it on Torah Anytime, or I can send it to you. It's on the last two, one that's called Purim, and the one before is Vayikra. Really it addresses that when we're making decisions based on the loudest noise of our animal side of us, the brain is saying all these things and our emotions are saying all these things, or the body's saying all these things, and we go with one of those, right? We're actually not making a choice. That's not choice. That's just listening to the loudest noise. And I'll put gaiva and all the judgment and the all that stuff is base nature. We have to access the higher, the neshama that we have. And that's the spigot, that's the portal, that's where the flow of Hashem wisdom, through Torah learning, through mitzvot, through tefillah, that's where we access true, where we gain insight, real insight, Hashem's thoughts. We really actually can get Hashem's thoughts. That's what you want guiding you, not, and so what you were describing, oh no, that's down here. And that's not choice. You're not making a choice. That is not choice. That's letting the base nature rule us. And that never turns out well. The second plug I want to put in again is for you, Rachel, because you can see, I always do this because it's so evident as you speak, and this is why we do this, that how helpful it is to have someone with your experience, both personally and professionally, to be able to walk the walk with. I think it's incredibly helpful for kids that are in Shidduchim, whether it's they're getting dates or not getting dates, and then very, very, very helpful when you're going through the dating of a person, to be able to touch base with you and bounce off of you. How did it go? Because you know how to ask the right questions. You've coached me in that when actually I don't even coach them on it. I just send them to you when I'm working with, when I'm setting people up. And it's so helpful because you have clarity. You also have perspective because you're not in it. So you can see the perspective. So both the combination of the being able to have an objective perspective and also the experience that you have. This is your expertise. It's not what you trained for, in college, but it's what obviously God had in store for you. And now you can see, right?
14-year internship.
A 14-year internship. It's true. So we will set a date for, God willing, for May, for April, probably May, because
after Pesach.
Pesach, and we'll send.
I want to just end by, and you can read the full article on my blog. It's called Dating Enslavement. It's about Pesach.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. So I just want to end with this, that, very often we can be enslaved by the things that we carry along with us in our mind, whether or not it's our fears or anxieties or our previous experiences that we're worried about, or previous broken engagements, or experiences that we've had at home growing up and modeling poor marriages. These are the things that enslave us. And in Mirz Hashem, this Pesach, we should be able to break free from those things that enslave us so that we can date freely to experience the relationship that we are meant to experience in order to really be Mekadesh Shem Shemayim with that right person and build a home with that right person. And until we're able to free ourselves from that enslavement, it's going to be very challenging to be able to find that right person. And so I encourage everybody to do whatever they need to do. Speak to me or whomever. It doesn't have to be me. Whoever you need to speak to in order to break free from those things that are holding a person back from becoming who they need to be, in order that they can meet the person they need to be with. So,
and it doesn't necessarily take years to break free from that. I have clients.
No, sometimes it's really just awareness.
It's an insight. You see
insight, awareness,
perspective, and
like flip a switch to recognize certain things.
Yeah,
definitely.
So. And we all have stuff, and what a beautiful bracha. Amen. I was going to say amen to that.
Yeah, definitely. And wishing everyone a wonderful Chag HaShavua Sameach. And Mirz Hashem will be in touch after Pesach.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Let's see if we could find this here. Ooh,
okay. I'm recording.
Yes.